We're going to rush over here as we get to our Kraken, who I talked about it again at the height of the show. Things are good. Things are good right now. So we'll get into that immediately with 3 games here on the road, all of them in Canada. Wait, no,
all
2
of them
in Canada. Wait, yes, all of them.
Well, all of them were wins. So January 3rd against the Edmonton Oilers, we won 5-2. Player of the game was forward Jaden Schwartz with 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, 3 shots on goal, and 3 hits. On the 5th, at the Toronto Maple Leafs, another win, 5-1. Player of the game there was Vince Dunn with 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, 3 shots on goal, 2 hits. And our last one of the week here, January 7th at the Ottawa Senators with an 8-4 win. That's a high-scoring game. Our player of the game was Andrei Burakovsky with 1 goal, 3 assists, 3 points, 4 shots on goal, and 3 hits. So, are we going to have any of our lovely pictures with our circles highlighting the not-so-strong plays here?
Not today. You saw the score for that Edmonton game and the Maple Leafs game. The D pairings have played a lot better than they have over the course of the last few weeks when we've had to have those nice pictures where Martin Jones was out sunbathing, laying down, all that. The Ottawa game was a little bit odd. That was a game where Seattle's expected goals were under 2. They scored 8. And Ottawa's expected goals were at 2, and they scored 4. So that one was a really odd game, but you're seeing Seattle continuously play the way we've seen them play when they play the full 60 minutes, when you give the conscious full effort, the selfless effort for the entirety of that time. They're going for game 5 tonight in a row. We'll see if that happens tonight against the Canadiens. But you look at this road trip. This road trip was kind of seen as like Disasterville. It was a 7-game trip. You play some of the best teams in the league. You play Edmonton after getting blown out 7-2 against Edmonton at home in the last homestand. Toronto is one of the best teams in the league. They're a top 5 team in the league right now. Ottawa was seen as a trap game. Winning a trap game 8-4 is pretty good. But then you look at the rest of this road trip. You play Montreal. You lost to Montreal earlier in the month. Buffalo's got a lot of talent on it. Tage Thompson's one of the top scorers in the league, one of the best players in the league. Boston has the most. They were the first 30-win team in the NHL this year. They are steamrolling everybody. You got to do that. You got to go into Boston's house, and then you end the road trip in Chicago. And Chicago just beat your rivals, the Calgary Flames, who you did not beat the last time you played them at home. So it's not going to be easy, but to come out and win these first 3 games like you have is really impressive. And again, it just shows you, the selflessness of it. There was a key play in the Toronto game that Eddie Olczyk, one of the great broadcasters on the incredibly great Root Sports cast, if I had a whiteboard or that screen thing we talk about, I'd do it. But, there are a lot of the times this season, when the puck is behind the goal, both defensemen will drop down and leave the front of the goal pretty exposed, which you don't want to do ever, but they made a habit of doing that where both defensemen go down. Send one defenseman, fine. Adam Larson made a great play, and there's a friend of ours who's watching this right now and will hear me say that. Don't give him too much credit now. But he made a great play, and he saw that, and he acknowledged it, but he realized that if he had come down, he would leave that space open, and he made a conscious effort to stay there, keep his stick active to ward off any passes into that high-danger area. So it's just I've talked about the potential of this team before, right? When they play that full 60, when they're focused defensively and they don't make the dumb mental mistakes, they don't take dumb penalties and put out their near league worst penalty kill out there again and again and again. And part of the reason that they're near a league worst penalty might be because they get put out so often. This is a top team in the NHL, and it's really fun to see. We've got some young talent on this team, which we'll get to with All-Star, but it's exciting. I don't know how much of it you've been able to follow with everything going on, but just seeing some of these scores, like 8 goals, they've scored 8 plus, like I want to say 3 times this season. They started off 2023 undefeated, so there's that. But it's really interesting to see what this team can do when they play their game, through the entirety or even the majority of the course of the game. Because in that Toronto game, they were down in the first period. And even that Edmonton, they were down 2-0 at one point. And they were able to stay resilient, get back in the fight, and lock things down. I don't know if you've had any any thoughts on that as well?
I haven't actually. So I don't know. And that leads me into also me not having a star of the week just because I've been able to tune into some games, but I haven't been able to watch them at length. And so I didn't just want to pull something out of stats, but also it was nice just to see that as a team, they're doing better. So it was hard to pinpoint just one person for me. So that's why I don't have a star of the week because technically for me, it was like the Kraken are just playing like the stars of the week for their team. So, but I'll let you lead into yours now with that being said.
Hey, that's my catchphrase, dude. The hell. You could have argued that maybe Vince Dunn could have earned this honor this week. I went for these numbers on the ice as well as the honor that I'll get to here in a second. Matty Beniers, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 shots, a 6+-, 4 shots on the week, 6 hits, 3 blocks, and 10 faceoff wins total. So as a centerman, Beniers takes a lot of responsibility. With the hits, they're having to be able to back check as well as the faceoff wins. Seattle struggling with their faceoff wins, but seeing this, all of this considered, and then noting that he leads all rookies in points and effectively the Calder Cup race, Calder Trophy. He was named an All-Star for the 2023 season. He's Seattle's second All-Star in franchise history, becomes the first rookie from his class to be named an All-Star and the second rookie this season. Just really impressive to see the numbers here. Really cool to see him earn that honor. It made a lot of sense. It was going to be either him or Andre Burakovsky. Maybe you could have thrown in Jared McCann there. Some others might have thrown in either a Dunn or a Larson. But it's really awesome to see him earn this honor and be named here to this sort of thing. And with that, we're about to lose Bel here. But
I have one last thing to say before I go. And this is referring back to our Seahawks. But all I'm going to say is never underestimate the heart of a lion. And now I will sign off.
A Detroit Lion? We'll see Bel next week. Thank you for joining us. Take care. But just with all of that, I don't mean to kick Bel out there, but duty calls. Just with everything that's taken place, it's really awesome to see that sort of the player that he is. Every game before the game, about an hour or so, he's out in street clothes, doing puck handling by himself. There's no one else that I've seen join him. There was one optional skate where it was all the scratches that were out on the ice, and then Matty Beniers out on the ice. So just to see the work ethic that he's putting in as I believe he's, I don't know. Let me get an official number here. I apologize, but with where he is, development wise is pretty incredible on its own. Seeing the work ethic that he does, he is 20. Okay. As a 20-year-old, that might be outdated. Damn you, Google. But just to see all of that, all things considered, I think it makes a lot of sense and it's really cool. Just to see that, and hopefully a few more Kraken players are selected to the All-Star game as well to join him in South Florida when that break comes up. Moving along here, we do have some other sort of news. There was obviously, I can give you some stats about Beniers. At the time of the All-Star game selection, through 37 games played, he had 13 goals, 15 assists, 28 points in total, a 5+-, 27 blocks, 50 hits, and 18 takeaways. I don't know if I said takeaways. At the time of his selection through those 37 games played, he was second on the team in goals, tied for second in points, third amongst forwards in hits, and third in goals above expected. Seattle is the first metro area in MLB/NBA/NFL/NHL history to have rookies in 3 sports all begin their seasons in the same year and all earn selections to the All-Star game/Pro Bowl later that season, including Tariq Woolen, Julio Rodriguez, and now Matty Beniers. So that was really cool to see that take place. On the same day that Beniers was named to the All-Star game and the Kraken beat the Maple Leafs, Shane Wright earned World Juniors Championship gold with Team Canada as the captain. The very next day, he would score a goal in that game as well. I want to mention that he did score. The very next day in the morning, January 6th, Shane Wright was reassigned to OHL Kingston in a move that surprised some, but just considering the state of his development and all that and where the current Kraken roster lies, it makes a lot of sense. And I think this quote from Ron Francis makes a lot of sense. Francis, we've been sort of wrestling with it for a while, and I wanted him to go to the World Juniors and play. I thought we'd make the final decision when it was all said and done. We're looking where our team is. We're looking if we called him back to Seattle, does he get the amount of games he needs? Does he get the ice time that he needs? We forget that during the COVID pandemic a couple of years ago, he missed an entire season of hockey. So we just felt that in the best interest for him was to go back to junior, play a lot of minutes, play in all situations that would be best for his development. We're still really pleased with everything that he's done. He's got NHL games, he's got American Hockey League games, and he's got a gold medal at the World Junior Tournament. That's a heck of a path. And he makes a good amount of sense. So if you look at this current roster right now with Tolvanen slotting in, or as my friend Ray would say, Eel, you just look at that sort of roster and the fact that Ryan Donato and Morgan Geekie have been switching in on that fourth line. Two players who you could argue are very deserving of their own time as well. With those two swatting in, where does Wright go? Where does Wright play on this roster until one of those guys is, and this will hurt some people to say, when one of those guys is moved, until then, wouldn't you want him to go out and, as Ron Francis pointed out, since he missed that year, to continue to get more reps, chase a trophy in OHL? He's probably going to get traded somewhere else. I had someone very kindly remind me that I don't know OHL hockey or Kingston, which I don't. We cover the pro teams here, which is NHL. So thanks. But all that considered, there's no spot for him right now unless you just want him to sit there as a scratch and not play. When you can have him go and play, this sounds like the best option. But it's funny that there were these comments and these arguments about it, and even these comments about him being a bust, because when he wasn't being played and he was a scratch for the Kraken, a lot of people wanted him just to be sent down anyway. So you can't be happy with some people. You just can't please everybody. But when it happened, when I woke up to it, when I groggily woke up and I looked at my phone and I said, it made a lot of sense. So it's totally fine. He's 18 years old. I believe he's 19 now. He's 19 years old. He'll be back with the Kraken next season. And because he didn't hit the threshold, he's still going to be in contention for the Calder next year. So I think he's going to be fine. With all that being said, we don't have any league notes for you, but we'll look at the upcoming games for Seattle, sitting at a 22-win, 12-loss, 4-overtime loss record, standing at third place in the Pacific Division at 48 points for the time being. Looking ahead, their next games are January 9th at the Montreal Canadiens at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. That'll be 30 minutes after this episode goes live. January 10th at the Buffalo Sabres, a 4 p.m. start. So Seattle will go back-to-back there. It's already known that Martin Jones will start in goal for tonight's game against Montreal, but a back-to-back there for Seattle. I believe that's their first back-to-back of the season. January 12th at the Boston Bruins, a tough game, as we've mentioned, at 4 o'clock. January 14th at the Chicago Blackhawks, a 5 o'clock start there. So Seattle will finish out their 7-game road trip. It's not going to be easy whatsoever, but with the way that they're playing right now, you have to feel pretty good about things.